The ANC has been in the government of South Africa for almost 30 years, 3 decades. It has done 4 things. It has collapsed security in South Africa. Criminality is rampant. If you are a South African who live in communities, you will know what I'm talking about. It has failed to improve the quality of public education in South Africa. These gentlemen and the lady don't want to take their kids to a township school. Forget what they say. It has collapsed public health in South Africa. I can tell you, these gentlemen have medical aid cards in their pockets, and the lady. They don't want to go to Tembisa Hospital when they are sick themselves. The 4th thing, it has brought South Africa to its knees when it comes to a basic thing that is called electricity. They have taken South Africa to the dark ages. That is the ANC.
The statistics are clear that the ANC has failed in government and failed dismally, and Ramaphosa has been the worst president probably since 1960 in terms of performance, employment, and so on. There is nothing that the ANC can do now to say that they can do better. There's absolutely nothing they can do. More importantly, South Africans have got to move on into a period where all of us accept that we've got to appoint the most competent South Africans to all positions of responsibility, including the state president, because the state presidency has been a failure for a very long time in this country.
The reason why I ask you all these things is because there's also a sense that you don't follow up on issues. I'll give you an example.
Yes, ma'am.
2 years ago at Sona, you said to us a social compact would be ready within 100 days.
Yes.
Next week you have a Sona, it will be 2 years, and we have not seen that social compact. You promised bullet trains. You promised us a university in Ekurhuleni. You promised us many things, Mr.
Yes.
President.
Well,
they have not come to fruition. In fact, Mr. President, when you were deputy president, you were the chair of that war room at ESCOM. So
yes.
Why would you make 4 appointments if you had 5 years to observe, to learn, to see, and by the time you come in, you just implement? Yes. Because you will say that, but on the other hand, you'll have instances where we've been told how the ANC has used its majority in parliament to shield wrongdoing. That happened again, many would argue, when it came to the Phala Phala report. So what renewal is there? I'm asking this because of the trust deficit that this party is now trying to close almost on a daily basis as you edge closer to that 2024 election.
Well, renewal is not a one-day event. It never could be a one-day event. A renewal is a process, and I've been explaining this even within the party itself, that sometimes renewal, there will be 2 steps back and 3 steps forward. And
of them, they're not allowed today to attend today's Sona to be addressed by the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa. Mr. Malema, thanks a lot for your time. Just take us through about today's expectations of the Sona. Do you think the president will inspire the country and to have a confidence so that they'll be able to fight the myriad of challenges that you are facing in this country?
Well, he has failed completely. He said Tumamina. But he was saying Tumamina to go and switch off electricity. He was saying Tumamina to go and close jobs and collapse the economy. He has failed in all aspects. The health facilities have collapsed. The infrastructure that he inherited has collapsed because the man has got nothing that he can do right, especially with his collective of the ANC. They don't want us in parliament today because it's a group of cowards. There is no leader who's a coward like President Ramaphosa, who's being protected by the judges. He's hiding behind the red dresses of the judges because he knows politically he will not be able to defeat us. We're not worried about that. We are on the ground mobilizing our people for the launch of our manifesto so that we can take over this power and deliver proper services to our people, give them the land, give them jobs, and stop load shedding.
Are you going to appeal the decision?
We'll appeal it to the Constitutional Court, because we must not allow that precedent where elected members of parliament can be removed through undemocratic method and supported by the captured judiciary. It started like that in Zimbabwe, where members of parliament are rough-tackled, are violated, journalists are arrested as we speak in Zimbabwe, and the judges are agreeing with that nonsense. We saw it in Zimbabwe, it's coming to South Africa. It must be stopped. It must be stopped with immediate effect. Judges are not court, judges are not the constitution, judges are not God, and therefore they must be criticized when they are wrong. How do you say no, must not call point of order? You regulate speech in parliament, where parliament is a mini heaven, where parliamentarians can say anything without fear of being prosecuted or arrested.
Minister is absolutely right. I've often said to her, we should have started with the early childhood development 30 years ago. And if there is any mistake that we have made as a nation, as a government, it is this one. That 30 years ago, we were blindsided, and we should have realized that to get this country to be put on a much higher plane of development, we should have started with early childhood development then. We would have had a cohort of people who would have started their learning much earlier and who would be contributing much more effectively. And we should have understood what Bantu education or apartheid education did to the people of this country. And we should have immediately decided to remedy that.
We live with our parents, and finding a 40-year-old man asking his mother for bread is more common than otherwise. This phenomenon is known as the Ramaphosa economy. Joblessness, poverty, and constantly questioning if we are truly the young adults of today. In 2018, Mr. President, you launched the Jobs Summit and promised the youth of this country 275,000 jobs per year. You failed. In 2019, you promised 2 million jobs and an end to hunger, halving of crime, and empowering the school curriculum where a 10-year-old will be able to read for comprehension. You failed. In 2020, you unveiled a 100 billion rand fund to create jobs in the public sector for the youth. You failed. You launched the NSP against GBV and femicide, and 4 years later, on the eve of elections 2024, the murderer of Kidisaletse Elsin Donje was granted bail of 2,000 rands. You failed. In 2021, you spoke about building new cities, and the National Youth Development Agency would fund 1,000 young entrepreneurs in 100 days. You failed. In 2022, plagued by your own failures over the years, you promised the National Youth Service would create a modest 50,000 jobs in its first phase. You failed. In 2023, you came here and praised yourself for the Youth Employment Service that placed 100,000 youth in peace jobs that lasted nothing more than 12 months. Once again, you failed. Yesterday, you came to this house and promised 2 million jobs to the youth of South Africa. It is thus fair and deliberate to then say that this time next year, the result will once again be not achieved and failed. When you became president in 2018, youth unemployment was sitting at 43%. And nearly 7 years into your presidency, youth unemployment currently sits at 45% for individuals aged 15 to 34 and a whopping 59% for young people aged 15 to 24.
How do you feel about Cyril? Some of your mates, you don't have to mention any names, how do your mates feel about Cyril? Because it almost feels like Cyril was sent by yourself, other people that are accused of capturing politicians. I'm not happy. Are you happy? Are some of your mates happy with Cyril in particular?
Massively, massively disappointed and disillusioned. Okay. Cyril, I mean, I'll give you one little example. Gwede Mantashe who's absolutely useless.
Okay.
And that's being polite. Suggests ESCOM 2.0.
Build another ESCOM.
Right. ESCOM 1.0 has been captured, stolen, broken, and it's almost unfixable. It's actually, in my view, unfixable. And he wants to build 2.0.
Yeah.
How idiotic is that? It doesn't make sense. So Cyril goes to the South African Communist Party conference just after Gwede Mantashe has announced 2.0 and says it's not a bad idea. How pathetic is that for Cyril to say that? He knows he's going to announce a week later his half-baked energy plan, which has nothing to do with 2.0, and yet he says to the communists it's not a bad idea. He should have said, if he was a real man and had any spine, he should have said it is not a good idea, and I'm going to announce something next week. But he didn't. So he tells, business people one thing, the communists another thing. He's useless.
He's a flip-flopper, and he tries to please everyone. Part of, to what you're saying about his spine, part of the issue people have had is that he doesn't have a standpoint.
Our people have the right to clean running water. And in this case, we will admit where we have failed you. We have failed the people of Hammanskraal. We have failed you. To provide clean running water. Even though investigations are still being made to investigate and to find out exactly what led to the death of people and where the source of this cholera was. The fact that you don't have clean running water is enough for us to be extremely concerned about the exercise of your rights as the people of our country.
Ramaphosa, when he delivered the State of the Nation address in February, that's why he said, in 100 days there must be agreed a comprehensive social compact to address these matters. Nothing has happened. Nothing. Yeah. Here are the problems that are facing the ANC. It's the habit of telling lies. There would be people who would want to exploit the condition of our people and behave as Umgodoi behaves. But it will be very, very important that we should be vigilant so that we don't have Umgodoi taking charge of our lives. I don't think the ANC understands that reality. It is true that you have got many greedy people, many corrupt people. If I ask the question, why is the ANC, which marginalized people as we were saying, why is it behaving like this? I say to the ANC comrades that when you say I must go campaigning next year, to say to people, vote ANC. How am I going to do that? To say, vote ANC. When I know very well that the branch of the ANC in this constituency is led by a criminal. You can't. It's not possible to go and say vote ANC for a criminal.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Jones, Why Not TV. Please subscribe. Bye for now till we meet again next time. Subscribe, please. Don't forget to like and to comment. Thank you very much.
Dr. Jones Motsonga wa Shiviri wo Maliko Wena TV.
Goodbye till we meet again next time. Subscribe.